on the topic institutionalizing innovations in agricultural marketing. Before moving further, I would like to give brief introduction about today's chief guest, Dr. P. Chandrasekhar, Director General of Chaudhary Charan Singh National Institute of Agriculture Marketing, that is NIAM. He is professional in the field of agriculture with 28 years of experience and expertise in the areas namely agriculture marketing management, agri-entrepreneurship development, and public-private partnership. Formerly used to be the Director of Agricultural Extension from 2017-7 to 18 at National Institute of Agricultural Extension Management, also known as Manage Hyderabad. Sir is also associated with more than 30 national and international professional organizations and bodies. So we are very lucky to have such a renowned personality with us today. I would like to invite Director IBM, Dr. Madhu Sharma ma'am, to initiate the session. Over to you, ma'am.
Good morning, everyone. It is really my privilege to welcome Dr. P. Chandrasekhar at this online platform of IBM. It would have been a great pleasure if we could have you here at IBM, but this pandemic situation does not allow for that. But we really wish that someday, sometime you come here and visit our institute. Then it would have been great pleasure if you would have been here with us, and interaction with students would be taking place, and a person like you who has lot of experience in extension, as I know that you are an extension person, then you are having experience of agri-entrepreneurship also, and then now you are DG of NIAM, an institute which is really taking care of agriculture marketing, policy making, training of all the stakeholders. And you have worked with different types, you have been training the people in manage also. So you have lot of experience to talk and to interact and to understand the problems of all the stakeholders of agriculture. And in this situation, you know, when students should understand then that when we are talking about doubling the farmers' income, agricultural marketing and agri-entrepreneurship, both the things are very, very important, because if farmers is taking quality product, if farmer is taking good production and is not able to sell that at proper price, then every effort of farmer is useless. And entrepreneurship, local for vocal, our Prime Minister is talking about that. That is also talking about agri-entrepreneurship. So, sir, I'll not be taking much time. I am delighted to have you here, and I am really waiting to understand so many things about agricultural marketing and entrepreneurship in agriculture, because I am also a person of agricultural economics, and I understand that how many changes are going on in agricultural marketing, and that is changing the scenario of agribusiness these days. And so many opportunities are there for traders and entrepreneurs to take up different types of entrepreneurship or projects. So I'm really waiting, and all the students are really waiting to interact with you. And that's why we have kept this very informal session. We have not gone to university to make it very big, because that stops the interaction and that becomes very formal. That's why we have kept this session with institute only. So I think you will understand, sir. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation, and I'll not be taking much time, and over to you, Gayatri. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. I think without wasting much time, I would like to invite our chief guest, Dr. P. Chandrasekhar, to initiate the session. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Good morning to every one of you, Dr. Madhu Sharma, Dr. Aditya Mathur, and all my dear students. Thank you for this opportunity. I believe that, we are facing one of the greatest crises of the mankind. We are fighting against an invisible enemy, and the social norms, political norms, economical norms are getting changed. We are amidst of a greatest crisis of our lifetime. You will not forget this lockdown period in your lifetime. We never heard of this kind, and I'm sure we may not see this kind of crisis in our lifetime in future also. So we are at the midst of, one of the greatest crises of mankind. We are not exception. Agriculture is not exception. But if you see the performance of agriculture sector in the last few days compared to other sectors like, manufacturing, travel, hospitality, and mining, and many other sectors, probably agriculture sector performance is far satisfactory. We could able to produce, for your information, highest food grains. It is a record food grains, 292 million tons, and we could able to feed the entire nation without any disruption. So even though during the COVID period, the supply chains were temporarily disrupted, but never people suffered out of hunger. And only because several innovations have come up from different stakeholders in agriculture development. And if you can manage a crisis like lockdown, probably we have to identify which are all the innovations which came up during this period, and is it possible to institutionalize those innovations so that what the way we handled agriculture marketing now during this crisis time, certainly we will be empowered to handle agriculture marketing in future also, provided we institutionalize the innovations which we saw during this COVID period. So that is the focus of my presentation. I will be focusing on what kind of innovations took place at individual farmers level, what kind of innovations we could see at farmers producers organizations level, at university, at state government, and at government of India policy level, and many other stakeholders are also there who play very important role in agriculture development. Everyone started innovating during this COVID period, and that is one of the important reason why agriculture did not fail. So let us try to see what are all these small innovations which made the agriculture very robust, the sector. So I would like to compliment the university because during this time lockdown means people the lock up and they sit inside quietly waiting for corona to grow. But you are organizing so many activities, and this is also one of the activity. You keep thinking, you also innovating, making use of virtual this platform for connecting students. Without this COVID, we would have not resorted to online this kind of webinars. We were very happy with the traditional way how we handled, but thanks to COVID, we started innovating in our teaching and learning process also. In NIAB also, as on date, we could conduct around 104 webinars, including online training programs, only during lockdown period. We covered around 9,500 people, during this lockdown period, only through this webinars and all. So it's a great opportunity. I'm very happy that we are not wasting the crisis. We are handling this through appropriate innovation. Now, basically, agriculture means everybody focus shift to the income. Some of the studies, just I would like to quote. Average monthly gross income of a farmer's household, that is around 5 persons in a family. It is 8,931 rupees, and monthly expenditure is 7,152 rupees. The difference is the net per capita monthly income of a family of 5 persons. It is 355 rupees. Per person, if you work out per day, it is 10 to 12 rupees. You all know that, how much, what is the Manrega daily wage worker, he earns every day, or a farm labor who earns every day. Probably the landowner income is less than, far less than what the farm labor earns every day. And more than 22.5% of our population is below poverty line. The cost of cultivation is increasing because the input cost is increasing, labor charges are increasing. And in fact, even though labor charges are increasing, we are not getting adequate number of laborers to handle agriculture activities. Food loss and food waste is alarming, and markets are not assuring proper remunerative prices to the farmers, and therefore a sustainability of agriculture growth, it is in serious doubt. So this is the time I think we have to focus our attention from production to marketing, because marketing and after harvesting and after, this is one the period which gets maximum income to the farmers. So how the technology, including the market related information, how it flows to the hands of the farmers. So basically, one side we see technology generators, the other side farmers are there. In between, the robust extension mechanism works. So your agriculture officers, your horticulture officers, animal husbandry, fishery officers, your marketing officers, they are the people who take the technology from generators and they put it into the hands of the farmers. We need to bring drastic changes in the way we are transferring the technologies, shift our focus from production to marketing. Therefore, I would like to emphasize more on market-led extension rather than production-led extension. Now, when I talk about market-led extension, the kind of information we sought by the farmers and we provide to the farmers will be entirely different. I would just like to throw more light on that. Probably we need to provide more information on intensification. What is intensification? We are growing a local variety or maybe an improved variety, but when a new variety comes, which is better than the existing variety, I think we have to go for quick, shifting of our particular variety. I am just giving an example. It is applicable to all technologies. Now, thousands and thousands of technologies are coming out of state agriculture universities, central agriculture universities, our Indian Council of Agriculture Research Station managed research stations. But whether all the technologies are reaching the hands of the farmers, it takes its own time. By the time the technology reaches to the last farmer, already the new technologies are there in the field. Therefore, this technology gap has become a permanent, a phenomenon in our extension mechanism. Therefore, with less time, how quickly we can transfer the technology is important in case of intensification. Similarly, for diversification, we are growing one crop, I think we need to go for intercrop or multi-cropping system. We are talking, especially in plantation areas and all, we are talking about multi-storage cropping system. We can say you can grow up to 8 crops. You can multiply your income by 8 times. But when we just go there, maybe their cropping intensity is not more than 1.52 times. Probably they can go up to 7-8 times. So this kind of diversification is the information need to be provided to the farmers, because we are focusing on income. Then several Government of India programs, several state government programs are announced for the benefit of the farmers. How many farmers are aware that such programs are there? Yesterday I was talking to one of the a cooperative society in one remote place. Are you aware, the government announced a Farmers Producers Organization, Agriculture Infrastructure Fund, 1 lakh crore. And we also passed an ordinance that you need not go to APMC, you can sell anywhere. Are you aware about these things? They say absolutely they are not aware. So our extension worker has to tell, not only talking about integrated nutrient management, integrated pest management, they are part and parcel in package of practices. We have to tell, but please tell them what are the Government of India programs, policy directions given by state government, government of India for the benefit of the farmers. I think we have to start the day with the kind of day-to-day changes which are happening at policy level that every farmer should know. Market-oriented information. See, we conducted a study in Orissa. It's very interesting. More than 75% of the extension workers were not trained in agriculture marketing. Our agriculture officer is not trained in agriculture marketing. Naturally, when he is not trained, he will not talk about those things to the farmer. Then the second, outcome of the study says that 72.5% of the extension functionaries, they never conducted training program in agriculture marketing to the farmers. See, we are not training extension functionaries in agriculture marketing, and in turn, they are not training the farmers. Then how to empower these people? So, this market-oriented information, it is a real-time information. Farmers are not interested. What was the price of this particular commodity last month, last season? They want to know what is the price of this commodity today in 50, 100-kilometer radius in surrounding markets. What are the price of the commodities? That is their main. So can we provide that kind of information? That is, one of the important characteristics of market-led extension. Then agribusiness companies are profit oriented. They provide specialized services and they want to work with farmers directly, but it is not possible because they can't deal with the hundreds and thousands of small and marginal farmers. They need to have big infrastructure, huge manpower, and it is always a risky dealing with individual farmers. Fortunately, now we are promoting farmers producers organization. We are telling 300, 500,000 farmers come together. You grow a particular variety, you can link up to any agribusiness companies. Agribusiness companies are getting into contract farming, and processing industries are directly they want to purchase from the farmers. But when we have organized farmers on other side, it is very easy to link them to contract farming or processing industries, even export also, because they want in bulk quantity. So this is the great opportunity. The June 5th, another important ordinance passed for promoting contract farming actually. And subsequently, Government of India announced a farmers producers company scheme which promotes 10,000 farmers producers organizations. 1 lakh crore is dedicated for promoting agri infrastructure scheme. So all this together, at one place, you can see, instead of agriculture, you can see agri-business at farm gate. This is the most ideal time. The good things are happening, but we need to educate the farmers. That is very, very important. Contract farming is one, and the process of establishing farmer producer companies. When we talk about FPC to farmers, they say, how to promote this. So we have to tell this is the step one, whom to approach, what kind of application forms to be filled up, what is the equity, we have to collect from each farmer. Many, rules and regulations are there. We have to educate the farmers in these aspects. And linking farmers producers organization to extension, to credit, to infrastructure, to value addition and market. See, this is very, very important. We are linking them to technology of plant production and crop production, but linking them to market, credit, infrastructure is very, very important, which we are not doing now. This is the major shift we want to see from production-led extension to market-led extension. Farm mechanization, custom hiring units, it provides, some kind of self-employment to the rural, youth, sons and daughters of farmers. And the precision agriculture will be enhanced and the cost of operations will come down. And it also creates, employment opportunity for some of the rural youths also, custom hiring. Skilling, we are all talking about skilling now. You see, we talk about, secondary agriculture. We are talking about sorting, grading, packing, branding, and agri-logistics. They need minimum skills actually. We can't handle the way we are handling in, the roadside market. So this is another important area where we need to provide adequate information to the farmers. Water is a scarce commodity. See, we were talking to the director, Dr. Madhu Sharma, what was the rainfall situation? See, that is the backbone of agriculture. If you miss, you like it or not, you miss rainfall, there is no agriculture. Every drop has to be conserved. I think how we are going to teach this to our farmer, the future of agriculture depends on that. And pest management, 30-40% of the crop loss take place because of the pest management. That means you apply fertilizer, you apply labor, you do everything, but you lose crop because of the pest management. So this is one of the important intervention. This is what we have to tell to the farmers. Important, credit facilitation. See, I was talking to some of the officers, when the farmer suicide was in the peak news. What is you tell me one basic reason why these things are happening. All the people told that delay in giving the crop loans to the farmer is the basis for the farmers committing suicide. I will tell you how the vicious cycle starts. First one, at the time of sowing, you go to bank, you ask the bank manager, give me the loan. Bank manager says, no manpower, some paperwork is there, you come after fortnight or a month. Can he postpone his, transplanting, his sowing by 1 month? No, he can't. Therefore, immediately he go to a local input dealer. Local input dealer, he is a money lender also. He will give the money. He will charge 20% interest rate. He will take the money and he will start his, sowing. For that, seed, fertilizer, everything he will get from, again, input dealer only. How much is fake, how much is genuine, that, because it is given on credit. It is his obligation. Now, after 1 month or 2 months, he will get the bank loan. He is taking second loan for the same purpose. We are putting farmers in a crisis. Then he will he spent, around 30-40% for family purpose. Another 60% he will return to input dealer. So his loan is now 140%. When he harvests 100%, another 40% will remain. If crop fails at least once or 2-3 years, gone. This is a vicious cycle. So credit facilitation should become responsibility of extension functionary also. We should tell the farmer, you start the process 1 month in advance. You know the sowing period. So we know that, July 9th, the monsoon is going to enter Jaipur. Fine. April, May 9th, or June 9th, we should start the process of, filling the application, going to the bank. Ensure that before we start sowing operation, the money is in our hands. So this kind of, disciplining in, agriculture planning should be taught by the extension worker to the farmers. So organic products are in good demand. I think that these people should tell good agriculture practices. And pledge loans, see, negotiable warehouse receipt. Yes, again, yesterday I was talking to that this farmers cooperative society people. Are you availing this pledge loans? They're asking, what is this? What is this pledge loan? Negotiable warehouse receipt is a great opportunity available for all farmers. See, after harvesting, if you don't have a price, you keep it in a registered go down, you get 75-80% of the market value of that amount. You meet the immediate expenses. Whenever good price is there, sell your commodity. The money will be paid to bank and another 20-30% profit you will get. Every season, if this is meticulously followed, farmers will make the money. So we need to give this kind of information. Farm management practices, record maintenance is zero. None of the farmers are maintaining record. If they're not maintaining records, then how do we say that what is the cost benefit ratio? You ask any farmer, are you making profit or loss? They say, no, it is loss. How much loss? No, loss, it is loss. No, they cannot pinpoint because no records are available. So this is not a scientifically designed profession. As the name itself says, it is agriculture. It is culture. It is practiced like a culture, but not as a business. So shifting their attention from culture to business is the responsibility of every extension worker. Then there are income generation through on-farm, off-farm and non-farm activities. Look, normally we focus only on on-farm. Off-farm and non-farm activities we are not. When we talk about doubling farmers' income, 5 trillion economy, I think we need to touch on-farm, off-farm and non-farm activities. What are on-farm activities? On-farm activities, the production, you minimize the cost, you minimize the cost of seeds, fertilizer, pesticides, labors. Off-farm, you sell at a better market and make a good profit. You add value to that. Non-farm activities in every village, there are some kind of handicrafts, and people can also make, for example, agri-tourism. We are all talking about agri-tourism. This kind of non-farm activities also, they are related to farm, but not directly. So we need to add on income generating activity to the farmers' cafeteria of activities, so that they have wide choice and many activities simultaneously taking place on farm, off farm and non-farm, which can contribute to the kitty of the farmers. We say farmer should sell his produce, whether he has marketing skills. When we want, a person to sell a toothpaste, actually we give a induction training. What is toothpaste, and how he should compete with other companies, how he should project his toothpaste is the only best product in this earth before the consumers. But are we doing the same thing with the farmers? I think this marketing skills important. We have to sell to the farmers. There are social mental blocks are there. Farmer does not want to go and sit in the market. We need to tell that, when the trader command respect, because they get more income. When you go and sit in the market, you get more income and you command respect. So convert this farmer into a, the trader. I think marketing skills are very, very important. Direct marketing, ENAM, I need not tell, it is becoming very popular. We should encourage more and more farmers to use this. Risk management, public-private opportunities, and our extension worker need to give a psychological counselors also. Why farmers commit suicide? They see problems every season, but at critical times, somebody should be there to guide them and tell that there is a way out for this problem. This is very, very important. Suppose if the farmer with his limited exposure experience, if he don't see a solutions to his problem, he will surrender to the suicide. So we need to, give psychological, counseling also to the farmers, redressal of their grievances and climate change. These are all some of the important activities. Now let us come to some of the out of the box, marketing opportunities which we can explore. So linking local production to local consumption systems. This is very, very important. This brings a sustainable marketing, agriculture marketing system where the overhead cost is very less, logistics losses are minimized, no middleman, and directly the farmer is selling to the consumer, and the profit, the producer share in consumer will be increased from 30-40% to certainly 70-80-90%. That itself is doubling the farmer's income. So let us see what are the opportunities. See, we did, we have a student internship. I used some of the students just to see. We have a midday meal program. So government is spending around 1 lakh crores. 60,000 crore rupees is given by government of India. 40,000 crore is spent by state government. 12 crore students are taking food every day. And now, we did a study in, in Tirunelveli district in Tamil Nadu. If a farmer sell directly to a midday meal program, instead of midday meal school people, they are procuring from outside market. What is the benefit to the farmer? The farmer who is growing paddy, it is found that he can make at least 742 rupees per acre profit. Okra 433, black gram 206. But on the other side, the person who purchase, the midday meal operator, 73 rupees he will save in rice 60 rupees in okra and 5 rupees 39 paise in black gram per student. You know, this is per student. 12 crore students are taking food every day. You can multiply by 12 crore. This is the amount we are going to save by linking farmers producers organization to midday meal program. Now, see, in India, you know, there are thousands and thousands of function halls are there, marriage halls. 1 million marriages are taking place every year. Average expenditure per marriage estimated to be around 5 lakh rupees. 40% we spend on food. We did a study in Arsikere Taluk in Hassan district in Karnataka, uh, and it indicates that suppose farmers are directly providing vegetables, cereals, and pulses directly to the function halls, farmers get, you know, income. I am given on the second left hand side, red gram, banana, green chili and tomato, coconut. They made, this is the additional income they made. And the function halls, they get fresh products, assured supply, without price fluctuation, and you know, the direct contact with the farmers. So it is a win-win situation for farmers as well as the function halls. The third opportunity, we are running large number of SC, ST and OBC hostels. They are funded by the government. Suppose as a farmers producers organization, directly if we sell to these hostels, we just try to see in Narsingpur district in Surajgaon in Madhya Pradesh. Suppose our farmers are selling directly to this SC, ST, OBC hostels, what happens? I have given on the left hand side in paddy, wheat, pigeon and potato, onion, farmers made profit. You know, it varies from 40 to, you know, up to 75%. They made profit. At the same time, the hostels who purchased those vegetables, cereals, and pulses, they also made you know, good profit that I have given on the right hand side. So again, this is also a win-win situation. Now you are a university, you have a hostel actually, thousands of students, they stay there. We did in Punjab Agriculture University. Suppose we directly purchase from a farmers producers organization, like, you know, 904 universities are there in this country. So all the universities directly they purchase from the farmers producers organization. What is the benefit to the farmer? Farmer get assured market. You know, even profit is not there if the farmers get assured market for, you know, MSP type. Certainly it is a great boon to the farmer. And on the other hand, the buyer, the mess operator in university, for wheat, rice, potato, tomato, pulses and turmeric, they made, you know, good profit out of this. I have quantified also. So this is what the benefit. Now, see, these are all some of the out of the box ideas where we can link farmers to the market. And the production system is, the local production system is linked to local consumption system. Now, some of the, I will just go through in COVID period, some of the innovations by the farmers. Demand, it is a newspaper report, demand falls and innovation rises naturally. You know, one famous person, he says that, you know, crisis is, there is some way out for the crisis, and that is innovation. Only thing we have to innovate. So some people, they innovated. See, this is one report from, you know, Karnataka. It is there in Kannada, but I will tell you what is that. Here, near Mangalore, a farmer, he used to sell the watermelon to the middleman. That is 9 rupees per kilo, 9 or 10 rupees per kilo. But during the COVID period, no middleman, they came and purchased. So they were not responding because the market was in crisis. So what this farmer did is, he, through his WhatsApp, you know, he just circulated that, you know, around 9 tons of watermelon is ready. On particular day, one Sunday, you know, for 5-6 hours in his farm gate itself, he is going to sell. And that is for, you know, very reasonable price, 12 rupees. That is 3 rupees per kilo is more than what is sold to the middleman. In one day, single day, he sold 9 ton watermelon, and in just 5 to 6 hours, just by WhatsApp. What are the innovations? Number one, farm gate, marketing is one innovation. Direct marketing by the farmer is another. Use of social media in agriculture marketing is one more. And the farmer, the consumers trust the farmer more than a middleman. They don't mind, instead of going to the market, they don't mind coming to the farm gate and purchasing directly from the farmers. So this is at individual farmer. See, this is another report which says that when the consumers started coming to the farm gate, what this group of farmers did, they purchased all different cereals, pulses and vegetables from other farmers, from other districts, and they started selling direct marketing. So this group of farmers benefited other group of farmers on one side, and directly they sold it to the consumers, and there is no middleman. And they sold, cabbage, tomato, beetroot, and many tubers, and cucumber, like, they procured from other farmers, then they sold it. This is one initiative of Indian Institute of Horticulture Research. See, they gave the photo, this is a WhatsApp message. They gave the photo of, the carrot, how much it is available, what is the quantity, what is the price, and where they have to pick up and whom to contact. This small message along with this photograph, they circulated among, large number of traders and consumers. So these people, farmers, they were greatly benefited by this initiative. Similarly, for Amla, they gave from Tamil Nadu farmers, they could help. Similarly, for avocado, so this from Coorg in Karnataka, these people could able to help. So encouraged by this success of direct marketing, the farmers demanded continued direct sales system during post-lockdown period also. They wanted, you please continue this. We are greatly benefited. But for your information, now the ordinance which was passed on June 5th by Government of India says there is no restriction. Farmer can sell to anybody, anywhere, anytime. They need not go to APMC. So this direct sale is now legalized. Farmers need not worry about that. Directly they can sell. So people, this is for urban people. Some of the farmers, they are telling, you urban people, you please come, weekends, Saturday, Sunday, develop a small piece of land. You grow whatever you want. We will guide. When you are not there, we will water. We will take care of pests and diseases. We will give our land. We will charge. We will make money. At the same time, they can also get, the vegetables. Nowadays, another concept is catching up, like, family farmer. Basically, these residential colonies, they are adopting a group of farmers, and group of farmers are growing and they are selling to this residential areas. So middleman is eliminated, and they make good profit. Now let us see some of the innovations by farmers producers organization. Okay, this one Puttari, one village. Actually, these people, they purchase directly from the farmers, and 3 days in a week, straight away they sold directly to the consumers. So there is no middleman, and FPO, they assisted. Sometimes tomato was not sold, COVID period. What they did, they dried, actually, sun-dried tomato. It can be preserved for long time. It's a very simple technology. So that, this dried tomato can be, sold at different point of time. And this Dan Foundation in, Tamil Nadu, they aggregated, 5 tons of vegetables from farmers, and they sold through ENAM. Individual farmers, selling vegetables is very, very difficult. But some organization like Dan Foundation bringing all the vegetables together, aggregating and selling through ENAM, that is the intervention of some of the organizations. This is from, direct sale by farmers producers organizations in Pune and Mumbai during lockdown period. 24 weekly markets were initiated, and 10 to 12% of more profit farmers got compared to APMCs. This is one tribal cooperative which collects honey. See, this is the message. They say that, you know, honey bottles are ready, but there is no market. So you give some money so that whenever you want this honey, you can take, and that is for a reasonable price. This has a social cause, and it is also a advance payment which can take care of livelihood of the tribal farmers. This is very interesting. See, Ashgard, which is grown in one particular place in some place in Karnataka. So this they used to send it to Agra for making this peta. Okay, the raw material was going from here, but due to COVID, the logistics was affected, and farmers already they grew this Ashgards. Then what? Actually, this man whom we are seeing here, he is the local MLA actually. He is also a farmer. So this man called meeting of all the farmers and he told, see, you are sending to Agra, they are making peda, but why can't we try that kind of peda here itself? So they tried, it is a innovation in, culinary innovation. They tried, they released it to the market, and you can see the photograph of this. So I think it is very important for universities, ICR organizations, and people like us, institutes, to recognize this kind of small innovations, institutionalize them, so that at national level, this kind of innovations can be upscaled, multiplied. So this is, fig growers. Basically, they were exporting due to COVID. You know, the export market collapsed, and they started selling in the local market. See, these are all. And Sahyadri Farmers Producers Company in Nasik, you all know, they sold 70,000 boxes of fruits and vegetables, and making a turnover of 4 crores in a month. It is by a single farmers producers organization, and nobody can match the way the post-harvest technologies are adopted by farmers producers organizations. Similarly, from Kolhapur in Maharashtra, jaggery growers, organic jaggery was sold 50 rupees per kilo directly to the farmers. And some of the farmers in Solapur in Maharashtra, they sold banana during COVID period. They exported to Gulf countries around 1,000 tons. Each kilo, they made a profit of 6 to 7 rupees per kilo. It's a huge money. They made a total turnover of around 1 crore rupees only in banana selling. And in Sangli, 6.5 crores, the farmers made by selling turmeric powder through ENAM. Only thing what they did is they brought all the turmeric together. They gave wide publicity so that the processors, the exporters, they got in touch directly through ENAM with the farmers, and by eliminating the middleman, these people could, farmers could make good money. See, COVID period, especially this animal husbandry livestock products, they suffered a lot. People thought, this coronavirus, it passed through, meat, milk and eggs. I think these farmers took the biggest blow. Then the district administration, they got into action. They created, good publicity among the farmers and the consumers also. They ensured that this meat, milk and eggs are directly served to the doorstep of the consumers. So this is again, selling online. See, some of the farmers producers organization, for example, Indapur in Pune, they made a package of 300 rupees per basket, and that basket contains 1 kilo of onion, potato. See, basically family needs a package actually, and every time they have to go and purchase. See, this is for an ideal family. They made a package and they sold this for 300 rupees. So the consumers also very happy, and farmers also get market for all their produce through this initiative. So this is, again, fish. Why I am taking this example is it is not confined to cereals and pulses. Even the, the poultry farmers, even the fish farmers, fishermen, they also sold directly to making. And this is regarding agri startups. Of course, many, even for seafood, we have mobile-based app, and they are delivering to the houses. Flowers, there are app, they collect monthly subscription, and they supply. They're all young people. We should appreciate. This is a role model for our students also. There is a lot of scope, but I will come to very important aspect. You might have heard about Rashtriya Krishi Vikas Yojana, Raftar. There is a program. It's a popular program of Government of India. We are promoting, agri startups, and NIAM is a knowledge partner in implementation of this. See, last year we could able to mentor 59 agri startups, and we could able to fund 39 startups to the tune of 4.5 crores. So these 39 startups are in field now. So it is open opportunity for all our agri-business students who are sitting there listening. And maybe if you have a specific question at the end, I'm just looking at the time. I have another 10 minutes. Okay. So yeah, at the end you can have the questions. So so these are all the agri startups passed out from NIAM. They are from different parts of the country. They underwent training here. It is on-campus training, but now this time we are starting online off-campus. These are all the innovators. Now, innovations by institutions. I will give, say, individual FPO startups. These are all some of the innovations. But what are the innovations by institutions? See, this is this is the alumni association of a university. In fact, what they did, they purchased the fruits from grape growers, and they sold it to residential areas. They initiated a small vehicle like this. See, in every university we have alumni association. Now, why can't we take up this kind of activities? Alumni association, otherwise they meet once in a year, but this is more productive activity. Some of the universities, they linked farmers with the traders. This linking was very, very critical. Even traders and the farmers both were clueless during COVID period, but university played a very important role. You can see here photographs. And the industry body like CII, they organized interface between farmers and processors and exporters. They had one-to-one discussion. And institute like Indian Institute of Horticulture Research, they also played important role in linking farmers with processors. See, this is flower. COVID, the worst affected sector is floriculture during COVID period. Nobody was there because the temples were not there, marriage functions were not there, and people were not going outside. Flower markets were not there. Export were hit. So flowers were not sold at all. So during that time, actually this is one of the technique. They dried the flowers and they supplied to this perfume industry. They use these dried flowers for perfume industry. This is one of the way. See, this kind of the mobile vans were also introduced. This cost around 10-12 lakh rupees, but fresh vegetables are available, and it has a electronic display board also. It can go from place to place. See, these are all some of the innovations which came during this period. Okay, actually we could able to train some of the rural youths in enterprises through a consortium approach. We brought a banker, we brought an NGO, we brought a mentor, all the people together. So this is another innovation. Whenever we introduce an entrepreneur, just by giving a loan, just by giving a subsidy, I don't think we can create entrepreneurs. Actually, we, apart from capacity building, we have to give them seed money, we have to give them to loan, subsidy, or constant monitoring, mentoring is also important. So we could try with Syngenta Foundation, and we were successful in this. Similarly, another thing, you can see they're all rural youth. This is another experiment I tried actually. Agribusiness companies, they wanted some seasonal demonstrators in rural areas who can, sell their seed, fertilizers and all in rural areas. They can demonstrate and convince about the product. So it is for, 6,000-7,000 rupees. Only the village sons and daughters of the farmers can take the advantage. So what we did is we took this batch, we trained them in basic agriculture for 45 days. Then 100% placement we could achieve by agribusiness companies. It is around 8 to 10,000 rupees. So on the last day, you can see this. This is the first day of the program. I will show you the last day of the program. See, this is the last day of the program. This is the power of capacity building. You can see the confidence and the professional outlook of this rural boys and girls. We also invited some of the parents, and they were very, very happy. This is a public-private partnership model. I think there is a great opportunity for working with private sector, and we need to have some good guidelines, and I have given here, and you can study this. Now, basically, role clarity should be there. What is the role of the public and what is the role of private? I think this role clarity we can evolve good public-private partnership models. So several universities, they initiated this kind of linking farmers to market, farmers to consumers initiatives. These are all the WhatsApp messages. This is very interesting, initiative by one of the newspaper. What they did is a newspaper used to give a mobile number. Any consumer, they can call this mobile number and order what kind of vegetables and fruits they want, and door delivery is ensured. And the producer, they charge around 10% more than the production cost. These are all WhatsApp groups. This social media is playing very important role now. Farmers are using it very effectively in selling. Here in that newspaper mediated marketing activity, earlier farmers were selling, for example, watermelon for 7 rupees 50 paise per kilo, but now they sold it for 12 rupees. Similarly, several commodities I have given. State governments, for example, Telangana, they came out with Raita Bandhu program, and they are giving 5,000 rupees per acre per farmer per year, provided he grow a particular crop. See, if farmers are growing the crop which is not demanded by the market, then it becomes a problem for government. So they wanted to, regulate here itself. And in Karnataka, they can convert agriculture land for industrial purpose. So this is one agriculture minister directly, he is talking to the farmers on phone-in program. These are all some of the advertisements, okay, given by them. So national level, a mobile-based app was launched by Government of India called Kisan Rath. For example, if farmers, if they want to hire a vehicle for transportation of agriculture commodity, he can use this Kisan Rath. Now Kisan Rails have been introduced, and government increased this ENAM mandis up to 1,000 markets, and Krishi Udan is a Ministry of Civil Aviation. They are introducing, cargo flights for transportation of agriculture commodities. ENAM, they modified some of the operations so that the farmers need not transport their commodity to the markets for auctioning their commodities. From the place where they are aggregating, they can auction. See, this is a great advantage for farmers. See, several states, I think policy initiatives they are implementing, but most important, the Government of India ordinances I have already highlighted. This is, one agri-clinic and agri-business center scheme which is open for any agriculture graduates. So one can get up to 20 lakh rupees loan and 36 to 44% subsidy. and 45 days training program. You can go to agriclinics.net. You will get more information, and you can undergo training, and you can start your own enterprise. See, I will tell you, most important is entrepreneurship should become a social movement. I will just take one example. This is a Kutumbashree, a very popular program in Kerala. You can see a large number of ladies. What are all the kinds of activities? See what this government assisted program is doing. Basically, they are mobilizing the farm women. They are imparting skill in different activities, income generating activities. Then they are linking them to loan and the market. That is how these SHGs are functioning. But it is very interesting to know what are the activities initiated by Kutumbashree program. Look at the uniform. See, a particular group is specialized in agriculture activity. What this group is doing, they are taking the land from the landowners who are not cultivating. Sons and daughters are in urban areas, education. The land is uncultivated, so they are giving land on lease. These people they are taking and they are cultivating, making profit and sharing profit with landowners. So food security, income security is ensured. This is nursery seedlings they are selling. Food processing. Look at the uniform and the professionalism. They were specially trained in that particular activities. Vermicomposting, pickle manufacturing. They are running a kitchen. They are running the buses. They are the drivers. They are the conductors. They are managing rural transport services. When I say on-farm, off-farm, and non-farm activities, this comes under non-farm activities. This is catering. They are into construction activities. It is seasonal but highly rewarding. They are running daycare and play school. Flexi printing, floor mills. They are responding to market demands. See their handicrafts. Kerala is tourist destination. They are selling these kind of things. They are running working women hostel, housekeeping teams, ironing unit, IT unit. They are producing mineral water. They are running restaurants, napkin production, Nutrimix. Some groups are specialized in painting. You can see this. Paper plate making. Cultural troops, they are trained in this. Taxi owners, cloth bags, weaving. Drama troops, whenever some programs are organized, this team will go, they play drama, they charge for that. Hollow bricks are made, catering units. See, this is very interesting, especially in COVID period. This paramedic, they are trained in checking your BP and sugar. They go with the minimum equipments, go to the house, they charge minimum, and they provide this services. Fitness centers in urban areas. It is dog catching unit. They serve the panchayats. Okay. See, now migrant workers is one of the important, the concern of today. Probably we should take it as an opportunity. Nothing is a problem. So this is my message to all my student friends. Crisis is an opportunity. When the people from urban area, they will come to rural area, they come with a skill, they come with the capital, they come with education and experience, they can have secondary agriculture. This is a great opportunity. And agriculture infrastructure fund as well as agriculture marketing infrastructure scheme created by government, we can create lot of infrastructure which is required for agriculture development in rural areas. This is what our former president Abdul Kalam Saab said, Pura, provision of urban facilities in rural areas. Government is promoting 10,000 micro food enterprises. Very important. See, that means the processing can take place at farm gate. You just see Rang De, it is a social enterprise. which take investment from the people, and they give it to the farmers on interest-free loan. It is very interesting. I just wanted to share with you. So when we think of institutionalizing innovations, we have to take innovations from progressive farmers, FPOs, agri-startups, SAUs, ICAR, national institutes, agribusiness companies, and the policies from ministry and some of the international innovations. This is how we can, from different sources, we can learn from them and we can better ourselves. So this is what I just wanted to share with you all people. Now it is open for discussion.
Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable words and the different innovations in the interventions of agriculture. Now I am moving to the questions part, sir, queries. There is a question from Yogesh, sir. He is asking, there is a technology gap in farming.
Your audio is not clear.
Every new technology is costly than the previous.
Gayatri, can you take up the queries? I think Kishore's network issues are there. Gayatri?
Hello, sir. Is it audible, sir?
Yeah, it is clear.
Yes, sir. The question is, sir, there is a technology gap in farmers, but every new technology is costly than previous one. So what we can do for them to reduce these costs?
No, see, when you purchase something in Amazon, probably that is more cheaper, quality is better compared to local market. The technology bring the cost effectiveness also, and the quality of service. So I don't agree that every technology will increase the cost. No, the very purpose of technology is to reduce the cost and the effectiveness of the functioning. So you look at wherever that kind of technologies which increase the cost, they failed actually. They will not people don't pick up. They die their natural death. Therefore, develop one of the basic principle in developing any new agri startup is to what extent your services qualitatively is better than the existing ones, at least one step ahead. That's very, very important.
Thank you, sir. The next question is, sir, negotiable warehouse receipts is a good idea, but the existing warehouses are not enough to store the produce. How can we resolve this?
That is a great opportunity. See, whenever I say there is some crisis, it is a great opportunity for students like you. I will tell you, I am promoting one agri startup called apnamandi.com. You can just go to that one. Mr. Sanjay Agarwal, he is a agri winner. He just started apnamandi.com. See what he is doing. He is taking the old houses, unused houses in rural areas with minimum investment, converting into godown, and he is storing the local commodities, and those commodities are sold, and when they get a better price. Till that, negotiable warehouse receipt advantage goes to the farmer. So there is a lot of opportunity for this. It is not popular. I agree. Because it is not popular, there is a lot of scope for go down. For example, one warehouse for every village, there is an opportunity.
Thank you, sir. The next question is from Akshat Misra. He is asking, so many innovations are there, still we are not able to increase the export rate. What exactly is the need for maximizing the exports?
Export, there are, we need to have some basic information. Basically, we have to work from the reverse. What are the countries are our, export destinations? Now, the Government of India made an analysis and shortlisted around 15 countries are export destination for agriculture commodities. In 15 countries, what are all the commodities they are importing from India, importing from other countries, and price wise, quality wise, how we can be better than other countries so that we can substitute, we can be more competitive for exporting. And backward logistics. So when we talk about logistics, export, it's a whole, sort of, supply chain. Entire supply chain has to be streamlined so that we will meet international standards. For example, Maha grapes, they are, exporting 100% of their grapes to different countries because they have developed that kind of, supply chain. So it is very, very important to meet the international standards, even starting from production and at farm gate and post-harvest technologies, all these aspects, and price competitiveness. So these are all very, very important things, and production for the local market is entirely different from exporting outside. And exporting to US is different from exporting to European bloc and Middle East countries. We have to understand that.
Thank you, sir. The next question is from Nagaprasad, and he is asking, agribusiness is itself creating a bridge to farmers to get solutions for their problems and act as a middleman. If we take sustainability without having middlemen, how can farmers get benefits from agribusiness professionals?
Yeah, farmers producers company is another emerging important area where a farmer with half an acre, 1 acre, some 300, 500,000 farmers can come together. Virtually, they can pool their lands. That means it will become 1,000 or 2,000 acres at one place. They can produce a commodity and function like a company. That is what Government of India is telling. You promote, 10,000 farmers producers organization. The future of agriculture marketing depends on the performance of this farmers producers organization, where there is no middleman and they can link directly to the consumers and export.
Yes, sir. The next question is from Director IIBM, Director IIBM, Madhu Sharma ma'am. She is asking, why is it so that most of the examples of innovation are from southern part of the country? What is the reason, and what do you suggest for Northern India to come up with more of such innovations and in entrepreneurship?
No, innovation is innovation. They are, location neutral. So only thing we have to see, of course, this presentation I made for one of the southern states, therefore I collected southern examples. But otherwise, WhatsApp is location neutral. IT technology or startups are location neutral. So only thing we need to identify the good practices during the presentation and try to see. See, for example, we talked about a alumni association coming forward, trying to help the farmers. You see, any university, we have 76 universities. I'm talking about every university, we have an alumni association. Once in a year we meet, so make a big program, cultural programs, and all get together, and we say thank you very much. But some people are going beyond this. Throughout the year, some of the alumni are retired also. During that time, they can make use of their time for some kind of socially oriented agribusiness activities, and they can contribute a lot.
Yes, sir. The next
Good
question is
practices we can take from outside the country also. There is no bar.
Sir, I wanted to submit that mango, so for example, UP is also hub for mango production, but mango exports are negligible from that part of our country. So we have done a study by a PhD student has done the study on mango exports from UP. Farmers are not knowing even about the good agricultural practices. So do you feel that there is role of government, because we see Maharashtra, Maha Grapes, Maha Mango, and so many types of organizations are working. But in northern part, there is need of on the part of government, some need is there to be done for the farmers. So I don't know what has to be done for the northern part of the country, because they are also producing very good things, but not exported.
See, the most important thing is, are we telling the mango farmers that you are growing for export? In
Yeah,
the
good
in the
standards they don't.
blossom period itself, are we
Yeah.
telling the farmers that your mango is going for the export, and the export, the standards are so and so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you are meeting these quality standards, we can purchase it for export. I think that is the first step. To tell that, we need to orient our extension functionaries. Therefore, in my second slide itself, I told any change it should start from our extension worker. He should speak the different language. It is not production led, it is market led. Now it includes export also. So if we are promoting export, now for example in Telangana state, they are promoting a concept called crop colonies. What is the purpose of crop colonies? Agroclimatic condition zones they are identifying. There a particular crop is it can be qualitatively grown, cost effectively it can be grown. They are trying to link up those produce with the export market. So they are telling farmers, you grow a particular crop in this particular colony. We give all support. If some farmer is growing other than that particular crop, then the government is not taking the responsibility for giving any subsidy or giving marketing support. So in extension, I am sure you will agree, we are only telling what to do. We are not telling what not to do, because this is very bitter message. No extension worker want to displease a farmer. We are in the business of likes, but we have to tell what is the disliking and which is the fact. So production led to market led extension is one of the critical weapon in reorienting our agriculture to agribusiness.
Thank you, sir. The next question is from Neha Patil, and she is asking, what extent branding, advertising can be done in agri-entrepreneurship about goods and services? Is it beneficial?
Why? Say, entire Northeast, they are growing fruits and vegetables. So the people who traveled in Northeast, roadside, we have the best pineapples available. Okay, they are organic and very juicy. But they're not finding the best market because there is need for certification. Somebody has to go there. They have to certify that. Just by certification, it is not sufficient. Somebody should promote organic products like what Patanjali is doing, Baba Ramdev is doing. That is where branding is required. Now, if you are not making it known, thanks to social media, thanks to digital marketing, the cost of branding is very, very less now. It is must. When you go out of your village, branding is very, very important. Why we want to, call it as, the Sri Lanka tea? Why we want to call it as, the Brazil coffee? Why we want to call it as a Darjeeling tea? No, this kind of branding we have to build up. When you go to market, you prefer Darjeeling tea. You don't prefer some unknown tea, maybe from any place. It's very, very important.
Yes, sir. The next question is from Gayatri Gavande, and she is asking why agricultural technology adoption rate is less among farming communities. What steps can we take to increase it?
Agriculture technology, one of the assessments says that it is around 25 to 40% of the technologies are adopted by the farmers. And 60 to 75% of the technologies are not adopted by the farmers. Now, what is the reason? The reason is the weak extension system. What we have is number one. When I say weak extension system, it is in terms of number of extension functionaries who are functioning in our country. We have 119,000 extension workers in our country. If you work out the farmer to extension worker ratio, every extension worker has to serve 1,132 farmers. That means one doctor has to treat 1,132 patients. And this, our agriculture, we need to monitor starting from sowing to harvesting. Is it possible for every extension worker to provide solutions to every farmer for all the time in all the seasons every day? It is practically impossible. Apart from that, many issues are there. There are infrastructure issues, there are funding issues, and the compatibility of the technology is one. See, we don't know with what context the scientists develop the technology. When it goes to farmers, sometimes mental block issues are there. Farmers don't accept that at any cost. So have we taken care of that? Have we taken care of market? Qualitatively, it may be very good. You may say it has vitamin A, vitamin B, but that is sold on par with other varieties in the market. So what is the use of this value addition in terms of technology? So any technology which is not going without proper economics, yours is the economics department. So economics means agribusiness department. Your department is very, very important. In a university, it is my humble submission. Before the technology is released, I think the economics part of every technology has to be perfectly proved. Then only it should go to the market to be successful. These are all some of the major issues. And, like you studied in our undergraduate courses, in every village, there are only 2.5% of the innovators are there. There are early adopters. There are early majority, late majority, finally laggards. And by the time you convince the laggard and you come back to innovators, the technology changes. So always more technologies are released and the farmers are left behind. You just to check how many of our extension workers are aware about all the technologies. So these are all some of the bigger questions. And for example, your university generate, maybe some 100, 200 technologies every year. Do we have a extension mechanism where this 100, 200 technologies reach every farmer in the very next season? Do we have that? So these are all some of the, manpower related issues, institution related issues, policy related issues. We need to build a very good ecosystem for very effective transfer of technology. Okay, there are several issues are there.
I think we can take one or two questions more. I had promised 1 hour from Sir, so I think we have to live up to that. So Kishore,
yes, ma'am. There are last two questions.
We are running short of time now. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. The question is from Mr. Vivek Vyas, faculty of IIM, and he is asking, FPO is a very promising way for supporting farmers and farming. What are the new facilities available for starting an FPO? What are the points to be taken care while starting an FPOs?
Yeah. Vivek, it is like, if you see the new Farmers Producers Company scheme announced by Government of India, I will tell you the salient features. Any cooperative society, they can register under Cooperative Act. Any FPO can register under Cooperative Act. Sorry, FPO can register under Cooperative Act. That means your cooperative department can register FPOs. That is one thing. Or Companies Act, any FPOs can also be registered. So in plain land, minimum 300 farmers should be there. In hilly areas is defined as more than 1,000 meters, altitude. So in hilly areas, you should have minimum 100 farmers. So when you mobilize these farmers, you have to collect, individual contribution of equity of 2,000 rupees per farmer. That means 300 farmers, if you collect, 2,000 rupees, it will become around, 6 lakhs rupees or so, something like that. Another 6 lakhs rupees equity grant will be given by Government of India. It is a matching grant. So it can go up to 15 lakh rupees. Suppose you mobilize 1,000 farmers, you mobilize 15 lakh rupees, government will give up to 15 lakh rupees. So your equity, grant with the government contribution will be around 30 lakh rupees or so. This is one thing. Second thing, for 3 years to run your FPO, the government gives the grant in aid up to 18 lakh rupees. It is for paying 25,000 rupees salary for CEO, 10,000 rupees salary for your accountant, and managerial cost. You have to conduct meeting, you have to keep some registers, you have to go for registration, all these things together, around 18 lakh rupees. Up to 3 years they will give. After 3 years, you have to build up your internal resources, and for sustainability purpose, you have to continue this. And FPO can take a loan up to 2 lakh rupees. No, loan you can take more than 2 lakh rupees also, but up to 2 lakh rupees, you get credit guarantee facility. That means you take 2 lakh rupees loan, interest subvention scheme is also there. For example, the interest rate is around 8%, but you will get a 3% discount, and only for 5% you will get interest subvention. So 2 crore rupees you take at a reduced interest rate, you invest on agri infrastructure, you create, you asked an important question, what we have to do for export. Export, you have to have, some kind of aggregation point, drying units, you need to have minimum equipment, cold storage should be there, and solar dryer should be there. You have to have your own packing house, so your transport system. So all this purpose you need money. You take the money and make use of these things. And whenever you generate income, and for that, you can repay this amount. So these are all some of the facilities given by Government of India for promotion of farmers producers organization. And for more information, you can go to every district. There is a district manager, and he is the member secretary for a committee constituted at district level. District collector is the chairman, deputy commissioner is the chairman. So you can contact the NABARD district manager for more information, or you can go to website. In NIAB website also we have placed the entire the description of the scheme.
I think we can take one last question, Kishore. There is one question in the end I could read from Jay Sharma. He's looking forward for some advice from you, sir, regarding how to take up this COVID period, how to handle this ups and downs of uncertainty of the future for the agribusiness professionals. So your few words of advice to all the ABM students, sir.
Friends, see, the great, the father of green revolution, Dr. M.S. Swaminathan told, anything can wait, but not agriculture. Probably you can stop purchasing a vehicle, but you can't stop your breakfast and lunch and dinner. You need to eat to live. Food is the basic, thing which is required for survival of the mankind. That is what your strength is. Whether COVID comes, any natural calamities are there, people want food. That is your strength. That means somebody has to produce, somebody has to process, somebody has to transport, somebody has to, feed the nation, feed the mankind. And, there is a lot of scope for agri-business professionals, because we have 130 million farmers who are just producing. We are producing 292 million tons now. Next year projected is 296 million tons. Another 4 million will be added. We have 74 million tons reserve food is there in our basket. Our Food Corporation of India godowns. That means not only for today, for tomorrow, our food security is secured. But what people want? People want processed food. People want organic food. People want, qualitative food. Nowadays, people want the immunity, building food. See, these are all the specialized foods. People want different kinds of, the food which can build give nutrition to the people. These are all some kind of, consumer preferences you can look at. And you just imagine the COVID, it is going to create a global food crisis. Today, not only our Indian agriculture is supporting Indian food security, we are also supporting around 23 countries. That is for your information. 23 countries food security is also assisted by our government of India. Now, export is another opportunity. Value addition is another opportunity. Linking farmers to market, you can have your own farmers producers organization. You can come out with any agri startups. This is another big opportunity which is opening up. Public-private partnership opportunities are coming up. Contract farming opportunities. So what I am trying to tell is, now farmers are not moving to market. Market is moving to the farm gate because of our ordinance. So when the market goes to the farm gate, the first question farmer asks, how much is the weight? Where is the payment? Where to store? Who will transport? All the questions are not available with the farmer. It is available with agribusiness professional. So, and these services are provided by agribusiness companies. So like agriculture never stops, agribusiness companies also will never stop. They continue to grow. They don't lose hope. You will get your placement, and maybe the tail enders may face problem, maybe 2-3 people, but everyone has an opportunity. So agriculture gives great hope. Maybe any other sector may lose hope, but especially at present, health and agriculture sector, I think bright future is available.
So thank you, sir. Sir, I'd like to take a small opportunity on behalf of IABM to thank Chandrasekhar sir. Sir, I think you have been so humble, and your humility speaks when you address people. And I have been witnessing that for such a long time. I don't know whether you remember or not, sir, during ACABC time, I was absolutely, I was confused and not understanding the whole system. And I didn't know that you are such a senior personality. I just called you up and I think I talked for 30-35 minutes with you at a stretch, speaking I don't know what, but you were so humble and you listened to me so patiently and you calmed me so wonderfully well. So that was a very wonderful leadership lesson I learned from you, sir, that day. And from that day onwards, I was looking for some opportunities to invite you to IABM. Somehow couldn't get that opportunity when I realized that now you are nearby, Jaipur pahunch gaye aap, so I thought we can invite you. But then COVID happened, and so when I requested Madhu ma'am that ma'am, we need to invite sir to guide us in this time also. And I'm so happy I made a call to you, and immediately, as you always are, such a humble person, you accepted our invite. And I think more than 100 people, students were there, sir, today with us, and everybody benefited. I'm getting a lot of good feedback on my phone also, and the messages are there. Thank you so much for this. I would like to thank Director ma'am also. I just went to her. In fact, I called you before and then I went to her. So you can understand the kind of a confidence I had that ma'am will never say no to such things. So I called you up, I took your time and then went to ma'am. Ma'am, I've already talked. Now you have to formally invite. And ma'am was equally eager to invite you, sir. And we coordinated very well. I thank all the faculty members who are joined here with me to participate in this very important topic that you just delivered. And I wish to thank Gayatri and Kishore who have coordinated it, and Soumyadeep who designed the poster. So thank you, everybody. I think this is a very interesting day to start off with, and we wish you, this is just a beginning of our association with NIAM, sir. I really look upon NIAM as a collaborator rather than a competitor to IABM. So we just look forward for more collaborative research projects and more collaborative opportunities where I think we can, the similar mandates are there, we can definitely grow together and make a big difference to the states. So I think I'll request Madhu ma'am to also share a few words.
Yes, I want to take this opportunity to say a few words. So thank you very much. With a lot of examples, you explained that how innovations are helping agribusiness. and that will certainly help our students. So I just want to request, because we have signed an agreement MOU with NIAM for taking up projects and collaborative works. So I would request you that whenever you have that type of opportunity for us, kindly let us know. Aditi has told everything like research projects and training programs. You can always call us. And today I did not involve university in this because हम इस तरह का interaction चाहते थे कि बच्चे freely आपसे बात कर सकें. But certainly you deserve to be talking to all the members of the university. And in future we'll be arranging a lecture for our teachers also. They will also understand. Our extension workers should listen to you. Some researchers should be understanding what quality standards and codex standards and export requirements are there, and they have to work in that direction. So thank you very much, sir. We are really happy to have you here. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for this patient listening. You know, that too, I'm very happy for your initiative during this COVID period, giving a great opportunity for every student to interact with outside experts. It's a great opportunity. And NIAM is your institute, and doors are always open. And MOA is not required. Anytime you can call me. Anytime you can. So your students, we have a program for student internship. So I quoted some of the examples. They are all product of student internship. We try to get something meaningful out of students. It's a very rigorous 1 month internship program. We also give them 10,000 rupees for PhD and 7,500 rupees for. It's for only 1 month when they are free. So this is open. And Agri Startup is another. If you are some of your students, they have sparkling ideas. Probably this is the best platform. They get up to 25 lakh rupees. And of course, with the university, I am working very closely. Your Honorable Vice Chancellor, they visited NIAM. He had a discussion with me. Afterwards, they invited for one webinar. And this month, I think 10th or 11th, one more conference is also there. So technical conference, and I'm also participating in that. It's a great joy working with you all people. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day.
Thank you, sir. So we deeply appreciate your time, sir. Thank you so much, sir. I thank everybody for joining on this virtual platform. Thank you, sir. And thank you all participants and the students who were kind enough to be patiently listening. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.